Welcome to Riverside Reflections. I am your host, Denise Mananis, and today, our first episode, it is my great pleasure to welcome our wonderful CEO, Mr. Ron Corti. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Denise.
So we want to have a nice conversation today about a little bit about you. And if you could start with telling me a little bit about your experience with St. John's, because you've been here a little while.
Yeah, I started in 1989. I worked actually at Yonkers General Hospital. Kind of moved up through the ranks, started as a reimbursement analyst. Jim Foy, who was the CEO at St. John's, saw something in me, and he mentored me. And eventually he sent me up to Community Hospital at Dobbs Ferry as the CEO. So it was quite a significant step, but his confidence in me gave me the confidence to do the job there. And from there, I spent 10 years in that role. And when Jim left, he thought I'd be a great replacement. And that's how I wound up into the job today.
So over all that time, which has been a considerable time, I think something 24 years total that you've been CEO, but 35 with the organization. Can you give us a little bit of the achievements that you've had? And I know you've had some big ones.
Well, I think it starts out at Yonkers General Hospital, we were teetering financially, and we knew we couldn't stay independent. And I think working with Jim, we looked at a financial model that made both St. John's successful and Yonkers General successful, and it really resulted in a merger. And I think it was better for the community and better for both organizations.
So following Yonkers General, you went up to Dobbs, and what went on there? I know that lots of stuff went on there.
Yeah, Dobbs was an interesting, experience. It was the first time I had to deal with something very significant. The legislative branch of the state stated that Dobbs Ferry had to close. And we had just turned it around financially, and we invested so much time and money into the plant. I said, what are we going to do? And I think it's really a testament to the folks at Dobbs Ferry, the folks at St. John's, and the community. We rallied together. We had great support from Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, who stepped in and said this would be a travesty if this hospital closed. And working collaboratively, we really achieved a lot. We kept the hospital alive, and it resulted in a merger as well. And I actually think we were ahead of our time. We basically spread the overhead of one hospital over 3 hospitals, which was a significant achievement.
Yeah, I remember those times pretty well. You made me go out to all the rallies.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. And I think even the volunteers at the hospital, both here at the Andrews Pavilion at Dobbs Ferry, they stepped in, and we'd started a letter writing campaign to all the officials. In fact, we got calls. We said, we get it. We want to keep the hospital alive. You don't have to send us any more letters. So I think it was community and the hospital's staff working together that brought success, coupled with Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins' influence in Albany.
So I've often heard you talk about the need for a community hospital and the purpose and our mission. But can you kind of talk about the things that we've been through as a community hospital and why it's so important that we're here?
Well, I think there's a role for every hospital, the big systems in New York City as well as community hospitals. But what sets community hospitals apart are that connection to the community they serve. First, starting out with their employees. Most of them come from the community. So when you come to a community hospital, it's neighbors taking care of neighbors, which I think reduces anxiety. The second piece of it is during, I guess it was Hurricane Sandy, some power outages. I didn't even realize how many people rely on equipment that requires electricity. And the halls of this hospital were filled with our neighbors who had medical devices requiring electric, and they had no power, and they lined the hallways of this building. And I said it then, and it really came about also with COVID, that we're like a lighthouse. We're a beacon of hope. When the times get tough for the community, they need their local hospital. That's where they went. And with COVID, we saw lines of people out the door looking to come in. And if it wasn't for us, where would they go? There would be no place to go. And, we had 2 very, famous physicians here at St. John's. Dr. Roy Ashikari, a renowned breast surgeon, and Dr. Avram Cooperman, who was very big in pancreatic cancer, and they said it best. The technology and the expertise are great in the big city hospitals, but the care is so much better in the local community hospitals. And I think it's a testament to the nurses at St. John's and the entire staff.
So it's very interesting because you mentioned Hurricane Sandy, but also I remember September 11th and sort of coming together and marshaling everything that the staff had to do and respond. What I wanted to talk about next are some of the current initiatives. And I know you've been in this building now about 14 years. So let's talk about some of the achievements that you've had in this building as the CEO of the whole system. And then we can talk about some of the current stuff that's happening that's exciting.
So it starts with the staff. I mean, we're people taking care of people, and we have to be able to recruit the best people. We have the Cochrane School of Nursing, which does a phenomenal job, and it has a history of producing the best nurses. What we were concerned about was we weren't seeing doctors coming into this area putting out a shingle. Not that anybody puts out shingles anymore, but even coming into the system. So I'm going to say it's probably maybe 10 years ago, we said we have to produce our own physicians, and we opened the first internal medicine residency program in the city of Yonkers, and that was followed by the first emergency medicine residency program in Yonkers, both firsts. And now we produce our own physicians, and our goal is to produce the best physicians so that we'll have a supply of physicians to meet the needs in the future, coupled with the best nurses, and we'll have the A-team here. And we've seen a huge change in healthcare. When I started in this business in 1981, there was no consumerism in healthcare.
Right.
And I think over the 40 years I've been doing this, people have choices, and people research choices. And we have to show we have the best nurses, the best physicians, and the best quality scores so people continue to come to St. John's. And I think they see the special folks we have working here. Each year, our volume is going up since the pandemic. And this year, again, in 24, we probably up 10% across the board in volume.
Wow.
So people feel what happens in this building. And I think it's an important thing because they go back and tell their neighbors, who tell neighbors, who tell other neighbors. And that's how the hospital gets busier and busier.
So you referenced the educational hub that we've become. There's another aspect to that, that's LECOM. Can you just touch a little bit about them?
Yeah, LECOM is the largest medical school in the United States. And they've done tremendous work in bringing physicians to the forefront. We partnered with them about 10 years ago, and we continue to work with them. In fact, we have a continuity clinic that's a co-sponsored program between LECOM and St. John's for those people who don't have primary care physicians. And I think we take the educational training that the docs or the students get there,
Right.
we move them into our residency program, and we can produce the best physicians.
So it's interesting because I know that it's not just medical students, but we also have pharmacy students here.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've really become a hub for medical education, nursing education, and I think that's really is so important for our community to have that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming this year. I know there's a lot of work done in all of our facilities. Can we talk about the emergency department a little bit?
Sure. Our emergency room was built to service 23,000 patients. We're currently seeing approximately 40,000 patients. And we see the significant need in that area. We will be breaking ground in the fourth quarter of 2024 on a new emergency room. It's going to be spectacular. I saw the architectural renderings, and I think the community is going to be wowed by what we're going to be building here at St. John's. It more than doubles the capacity here, and it sets it up in such a way that there's privacy. Typically, emergency rooms, there wasn't a lot of privacy. You were side by side with other patients. Here, everybody will be separated in discrete areas. A lot of them will have views of the Hudson River, which anybody who's been to St. John's, our views are second to none. And I think coupled with our great staff, the nurses, the docs, and the entire staff in the ED, it's going to be a really, really good emergency program.
So that's the ED, and I know that whole floor in this building is getting sort of a larger renovation. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on in radiology?
Oh, it's a tremendous transformation. First, our interventional radiology suite, which is so key for a lot of procedures, key in identifying, tumors and biopsies. And that's already in progress. That will be completed by May of this year. After that, we are renovating the entire radiology suite. We're bringing in the latest technology, 2 additional MRIs, 1 a wide bore open MRI, so people who are claustrophobic won't be intimidated, or it won't provoke the anxiety that you get going into a closed space. We're adding an additional CAT scanner here at the Andrews Pavilion and a new CAT scan at our Dobbs Ferry Pavilion. A lot of exciting things happening. And I think the community, a lot of work is moving to the outpatient side. It's not a traditional inpatient model anymore. And I think our imaging will be as good as anybody in the areas.
Well, all of that technology and all of that renovation is wonderful, but I want you to talk a little bit about the St. John's Medical Group, because while that's not bricks and mortar, it's really quite fascinating what is happening and how much growth we've seen. So tell me about the medical group.
Yeah, as we saw our medical staff aging, we said we need to have more control over the future, because we serve a wonderful community. It's the 3rd largest city in New York State, and we have to have a robust medical team ready to care for them, especially as they age.
Right.
So at one point we employed, just a few years ago, we only had 6 employed physicians. At the end of this year, we'll have 40 employed physicians.
It's amazing.
And it's phenomenal. It works for the physicians, it works for the patients, and it works for St. John's. So it's the perfect formula for success.
So we're going from 2 offices, I understand, to 5.
Yes, we have. Right? We have a site at Dobbs Ferry, at the Dobbs Ferry Pavilion in the building. We have our Boyce Thompson Center, which is on Executive Boulevard. We have a Yonkers Avenue presence. We have a presence at our Park Care site. And you said
1022.
And 1022, that's right. I'm glad you're here to help me today. And 1022 North Broadway, which is directly across the street from St. John's. All of them are being renovated, and most of them will be multidisciplinary, so which you could go there for primary care, but specialists will be able to see you there as well.
That's great.
And we're also looking at a site currently on Central Avenue, and that might become our orthopedic hub.
Very interesting. So we talked a lot about some of the exciting things that are happening in this building. Dobbs Ferry is currently home to a few really important services. The orthopedic OR, it's an operating room. It has many surgeons there, correct? But it's really kind of a jewel of a place. Can you talk a little bit about, anything specific that's going on in Dobbs Ferry, the emergency area?
Yeah, but we're scheduled to be renovating the emergency suite. I just don't have the exact time frame.
Right.
But it's on the block for renovation. We're also adding some specialists into the primary care site there.
Very nice. And now I want to talk about the former Yonkers General Hospital, which we call the Park Care Pavilion, as it's located on Park Avenue, as you know. We have a really interesting group of services in behavioral health. Can you talk a little bit about that service, which is very, very important?
Yeah, sure. We have 141 beds, 72 detox beds, 69 rehab beds. We have our HOPE program, which is an HIV program there as well. But we also are a landlord in that building. We have a very vibrant primary care partner it's the old Hudson River Health, which is now Sun River Health. Right. And we also have Rockland Psych in that building, and we have a commercial pharmacy in that building. So it's truly a medical village. Very
interesting. So one of the things that we didn't talk about, but I would like you to address, is right now we have a clinical affiliation with Montefiore Medical Center, and one of the things that has come out of that is our surgical partnership. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The power of the big systems are the subspecialists. And for a hospital the size of St. John's to acquire all the subspecialists, there's two problems. It takes a lot of money. And the second thing, you have to have a lot of volume. And a lot of the specialty, when you get to the subspecialty level, you sometimes can't produce that, volume to keep them totally employed. So working with our partner, we have access to some of the best physicians in the world who are now based at St. John's. They rotate between the Montefiore sites and St. John's, but they have offices here, which gives our community great access to great medical care. So it's a tremendous partnership, and it's symbiotic. We understand our role. There's going to be cases we can't do, and we make sure the cases we can do get transferred to our affiliate, which is Montefiore. So the partnership works for Montefiore, it works for St. John's, and more importantly, it works for the community.
Very nice. One of my favorite service lines here, I've actually participated in, and that's maternity services. Can you talk a little bit about our maternity program?
We have the best maternity program, second to none. I think, when I come here and give tours, I tell people, instead of staying at the Ritz-Carlton, you should check into maternity at St. John's. We have better views and better staff. We do a phenomenal job. We are growing the program. We're investing in more obstetricians. And the nurses are fantastic. And so I think it has everything. It has the staff, it has the physicians, and it has the ambiance. And when you put that together, again, you can't service the community any better.
That is right. So you've talked a lot about all of the things that we do and really how vital this organization is. Can you talk a little bit about, not giving away any, secrets or anything, but can you talk about what the future looks like for St. John's?
Well, I'm not a clinician, I'm an accountant. And it's funny, growing up, I was always afraid of hospitals. And I realized what sets hospitals apart are the people in those hospitals. So we're embarking on a cultural transformation. I'm not going to give the names out because I don't want our competitors to know everybody we use. But what I could judge when I come into the hospital are only a few things. Are people nice to me? How long do I have to wait? Does it smell? Are people cordial when I have, demands or questions? And it's so important because the average person can't judge clinical care. Right. They can only judge the things that 5 senses pick up. And that's what we're focusing on. And we do a good job already, but I want it to be the best. We talk about, everybody always refers to Disney. I want people in the future to refer to St. John's. And I think we already embarked on this journey. And I think it'll be evident to all people presenting to St. John's, there's something different happening there. And we have great people working here and heroic people. During the pandemic, when everybody was hunkered down, hiding, these people came to work. My team came to work every day. They put their lives on the line for our community. These are great people working really hard for only one reason, to help their fellow man. And we're going to make everybody who comes in this building from this day forward feel special. And I ask anybody who happens to listen to this interview, try it, you'll like it. I think that was a catchy phrase from a different organization.
Maybe from a different era, too.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Corti, thank you so much for being a guest on our very first Riverside Reflections. It's been wonderful catching up. And I thank our audience for being with us today. Have a great day.